So the recording has begun.
Okay, thank you, Janine. So you've joined the K-12 STEM Outreach COI webinar. We do these monthly. I am Liza Gruden, the chair, and today we have a special guest, Dr. Nehemiah Mabry, and he's going to give us some exciting information. Next slide. So welcome, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time. I know that you have many opportunities to do virtual webinars and events, so it's special that you are joining us. Today we're going to have Dr. Mabry from STEMedia. He's going to speak to us. We're also going to cover post-STEM programming reports and support needs. Go over some updates to the SAMI National Calendar, discuss some best practices and programs. Today we're going to focus on Discover e-resources. We're going to talk about upcoming CME STEM Corner ideas, ideas for future calls, and of course, open forum. So, whoever you guys have out there that's interesting information, we always want to hear about it. Next slide. So we do have some COI news. Our XC call, we filled the position for diversity. Victoria has graciously accepted that position, which leaves an executive team position for young professionals open. So anyone who's interested in that, we would definitely love to have you on board. As a reminder, our XC calls are the second Wednesday of every month. And if you're joining us here, you know that our COI-wide call is the third Wednesday of every month. So I want to make sure I say thank you to Dr. Nehemiah. And I believe his slides start following this one.
Yes, and so we are about to switch you and make you a presenter. And Dr. Mabry, you are in control. Remember, you're currently muted. So you should be able to share your screen, but you are still muted. You are still muted.
Can you all see my screen now?
Yes.
I'm unmuted. Okay, sorry. Yeah, it looked a little different than we did yesterday. Sorry about that. How's everyone doing today? Everyone is great. I'm happy to be here. All right. Hey, I have to let you all know I am very much so looking forward to a interactive presentation to hear your feedback, hear your thoughts. Is there a way, I wanted to make sure, and what happened was it shared the other screen, but I want to make sure that it shared the correct screen. So I'm going to stop sharing now for a second. You all can still see me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so Nehemiah Mabry, Dr. Nehemiah Mabry is my name. I am an engineer, educator, and entrepreneur. That is the 3 E's I like to go with when it comes to my title. My background is in civil engineering. That is what I have been trained in. That is what I've done for the most part of my technical career, more specifically bridge design engineering, structural engineering. And so this is who I am. I've done a bachelor's, master's, and PhD all in civil engineering. That's what brought me to North Carolina. That's where I am now, in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina to be exact. And I'm continuing to work as an engineer, but also as an educator, part-time instructor at NC State. I get to teach classes like statics and mechanics of materials, engineering materials, and those type of classes as a part-time adjunct professor. And then STEMedia is my passion. I'll go ahead and share this really quick so you can see just our webpage here. STEMedia is a platform and producer of STEM content. So we say we're a network to elevate and empower STEM success. And we do it a number of ways. Through video production. You can see this video that's playing at the top of our website there. We also do it through events. We have an event coming up called the STEM Success Summit, which is going to be a 3-day virtual summit, as most summits are these days, where we're going to bring together 20 to 30 professionals teaching aspects of professional development, such as how to negotiate, how to choose the right path in engineering career for you, how to public speak, which is a little bit what I'm going to be talking about here today, and how to network, and those type of skill sets that are helpful for successful careers. But the reason why I'm here, because I will have had opportunity to work with this phenomenal organization through outreach programs, and more specifically, one of the camps here in North Carolina at Camp Lejeune, the SAMI camp. And I was looking at, Janine had asked me, she said, you know, do you have any videos of what you've done? I've done some work with one of the projects, particularly Trebuchet event down in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Thank you for putting the website in the chat. But I found this video that I pieced together, and I hope the audio plays, but I pieced it together when I first worked there back in 2017. It's a series of stories. You know, Instagram and a lot of different social media platforms have these stories that you can post for 24 hours. And I found this little 2.5-minute video that was really just a string of stories when I was one of the earlier times I got to work with Sammy. So I'm going to play this just so you can see a little bit of what this event was, and really where Janine and I was talking just past this summer about this opportunity. Please give me a thumbs up if you can hear, if you hear anything. If you don't, I'll start over, I'll reshare.
Yo, good morning, fam. It's me. Very early in the morning, you can't see me because the sun hasn't come up yet. But I'm on the road and I'm on my way to a Marine STEM camp. I'm gonna do some outreach today. I'm gonna try to show y'all today. What up? It's me. And I'm having fun with these young people. I'm about to go change because it was raining earlier, but now it's getting hot. So I got an official camp t-shirt to put on. Hey man, I just had a blast coordinating the Trebuchet launch. These teams were very interesting. But now we're about to have an awards ceremony for whoever had the best.
Now, all right, so that was a video I just put together. I found from, thank you, Janine. I found on just on my YouTube page again from a couple of years ago, being able to work with again this great organization and some of the things I do. But just to go into what I'm talking about, and again, I would love to hear more about you all as we talk. But we're going to be talking about how to talk about engineering. This is something I love to do. This is something that I'm really, really passionate about, to be honest with you. I like to always say there's something inspiring about inspiring. And so to kick things off, please do me a favor and give me kind of where you are as it relates to this particular topic. On a scale to 1 to 3, 1 being I'm interested in doing this type of work, doing outreach, but I have not really got started. 2 being, I have done it maybe a few times, once or twice, very few and far between. 3 being, I actively do it, and I'm just looking for opportunities to continue doing it. Let me see in the chat. Please let me know where you are. All right, so we got Matt at a 2. Okay, Matt is at a 2. We got Bo at a 1. All right, cool. This is going to be helpful to the both of y'all. Anybody else? All right, we got some 3s. Okay, we got a lot of people that have done it often. That has done it quite a bit. 2 to 3-ish. Okay, got you. Awesome. All right, so here's the thing. I'm going to share with you what I have found to honestly be really like my formula, so to speak, my formula for effective presentations about engineering. And one of the ways that, or the ways that I feel has made it more effective. And I'm going to be sharing some videos because, again, as a media company, videos is kind of what we do. And so I'm going to share some videos to illustrate some of these particular points that I found were very helpful when it comes to the things that I do and talking about engineering. I use it whenever I get to teach at the SAMI camp. And I also get to use it just whenever I get a chance to go to, whether it's college students or middle schools or elementary students, whatever it is, I typically follow these 6 elements, right? And I want to share them with you, particularly as it relates to, like, not as a formula that you need to copy and paste yourself, but something that I guess you can look at as a la carte. You can rent to own, right? You take it. If it helps you, that is great. Particularly for my 3s, if you do it a lot, maybe you can swap it out with something that you may find at work. If you're 1, I definitely want you to understand that this is something that can maybe serve as a baseline for you, as well as if you are a 2 in this. So to kick things off, I'm just going to one more thing to share. I'll be remiss if I love to do this before I get started too. Just show you a quick picture of my family. All right, this is a picture of my family because this is really where my inspiration starts. This is my wife and my girls. And when it comes to inspiring other people, it always starts from the inside out. And so many times I find myself, whether I'm shooting a video or I'm in the classroom, and I ask myself, hey, if this was my daughter, if this was my wife, if this was somebody I really cared about, whether I know their name or not, how would I say this to them? If I really believe that this was something that would help them, I bring this picture to my mind, and it always helps me to kind of get more passionate. It also causes me to get more caring in the way that I present. So I had to show you that because this is my why when it comes to. But yeah, just to go back to our 6 elements, number 1 is a strong opener, right? So here's the thing, and I want you to understand that I'm not totally in that mode today because I realize I'm almost like talking or narrating what I typically do because I wanted to help you all. But if I was doing a presentation for some students in STEM, the very first thing I would do, honestly, before I would even go into my background or anything, is I would do something to grab their attention. And so let me give you one example really quick. I need someone to come off mute, maybe put their camera on and do me a favor and engage me just for a second in this strong opener really quick. Anybody, any brave individual? This one is called a capture the flag illustration. So I'll come out and I immediately say, all right, I got a game to play. Who think that's very competitive, want to play me in this game? Jeff, is that you? All right, Jeff, go ahead and unmute. Let me.
Yep.
Here it is, Jeff. This is how you started off. This is how this game goes, right? The object of the game is to take the last flag. We're going to start off with 24 flags, and we each can take up to 3 flags at a time. You can take 1 flag, 2 flags, 3 flags. So if we start off with 24, and you went first, you can take between 1 and 3. How many flags would you take?
I'll take 3.
3. So that's 21 flags left. Now, again, everyone paying attention, the object of the game is to make sure we take the last flag. So if he took 3, it's 21. I'll take 1 flag. We're at 20 flags. How many flags are you going to take, Jeff?
I'll take 3 more.
3 more. So now we're at, what, 17 flags? All right, 17 flags. I think I'll take another 1 then. We're at 16 flags. Jeff, how many are you going to take?
I want to take 3 more.
Oh, you going to keep taking 3? All right, well, we're at 13. Yeah. Well, hey, let's follow the pattern. I'll take 1 more.
So we're at 12.
We're at 12. How many are you going to take?
I'm going to take 3.
Oh man, Jeff, you must be up to something right now. All right, we're at 12. Take 3. We're at 9. I'll take one more then. We're at 8. How many you gonna take, Jeff?
Oh, I think I'm going to take 1.
You're gonna take 1. All right, so now we're at 7. 7 flags left. I'll take 3 flags. So now we're at 4.
There you go.
There you go. And everyone, I know we're dealing with a lot of smart engineers here, so you can already see where he was going. But I bet you at the beginning of the game, right, if you did this in a room full of students, they will automatically try to figure out where this thing is headed. And they're engaged because you're putting it to the challenge. You're saying, hey, I promise you someone, sometimes you can maybe even put like a little friendly wager. I'll give you this bag of candy if I win this. If you win this game, if you don't, I'm gonna take it. I'm just gonna take it home with me and eat it. Right? There are things like that you can do as a strong opener that instantly get them engaged. And one of the things that I found that kind of like shoot us in the foot as engineers when we start off is that we do what we do with adults, which is we start going down our credentials and we start talking about why we're qualified to do it. And 9 times out of 10, the students don't really care how qualified we are right off the bat. And so what's really important is that we engage them instantly with a strong opener. And so here are some examples of what a strong opener would be. As I just did, thank you so much, Jeff, for taking the time to come off. But there are a number of things you can do, right? You have a problem statement. You can start off and say, what the OMG fact. You can start with an OMG fact. Like, did you know that? What is it? I think one time Warren Buffett makes $100,000 a minute. So the moment that I was waiting to hear my name introduced, he's just made this much money. It's like, it's a fact that makes them say, OMG. Right? Did you know, as my research tells us, did you know that 1 out of every 4 bridges that we drive on, I don't know how many people have driven on bridges in the last week, but 1 out of 4 bridges we drive on is either structurally deficient or functionally obsolete. Are you serious? Highway bridges, right? You go in and you give a shocking statement that grabs some attention. Another thing you can do is interactive activity or icebreaker. That's exactly what I did with Jeff. And then attention grabbing, statement or question, which is what I just did when I talked about the Warren Buffett. Another example of a strong opener, I'm gonna show you this video here. This was another presentation I was able to do on campus, is around the idea of grand challenges of engineering. I'm gonna play this video right here, and you kind of spot the strong opener as I play it here. Let's see. Grand opportunity, not just. This isn't the first time I've been able to speak. A little lead up to walking into the classroom. You all hear that good? Thumbs up if you can hear. Yeah, this is for
It's a little low.
It's a little low. Okay.
And I'm happy to be able to
Let me see.
represent.
Yep. What about now? Still pretty low?
It's low, but I can hear it.
I turned up the volume on the computer itself.
Yeah, that's already up to the max. Actually, that's interesting. All right. Well, I'll just narrate what's happening here. So what's happening here, and that is very odd. Is my first question to the students was, who wants to have a successful career? And as you can see on the video, every hand was raised. That's the obvious yes answer to a question. But did I ask the question because I really wanted to know how many people in the room wanted to have a successful career? No, I didn't. I asked the question because I wanted their engagement immediately as I started talking. And so the first thing I said was, who wants to have a successful career? So if you're dealing with young kids, it could be something very simple as, who likes pizza? You'll see every hand go up in the room, right? Because instantly you're engaging it with something, and it's almost like a trap to instantly grab their attention. So whether it's a game, whether it's an obvious questions you know the answer to, you always want to make sure you start with a strong opener. All right, if y'all are with me, Let me just see you type with you in the chat. Let me see you just type with you in the chat. Type with you. I'm with you. I want to know if y'all with me. Just type with you in the chat. There we go. There we go. Eddie's with me. Cool, cool, cool. So that's the first thing I want to share with y'all. Nicholas is with me. All right, cool, cool. All right. And what I want you all to do, please, is feel free to jump in and ask questions. I'm going to probably show another video or two, but hopefully the sound works. But Carol's with me. Susan's with me. Great. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So that's the first thing I really want to make sure that you all get. And when it comes to better talking about engineering, you always want to have a strong opener. And so number two, here's the number two I want to share with you. The number two is to have a simplified message. Simplified message. Now, I always know that there is a way to say something both more convoluted and to say something simpler, right? And what I mean by that is I have a PhD, and if you look at any titles of dissertations, there's probably the most complex, convoluted titles you can ever see. If you just went and typed dissertation titles, you have all these qualifiers. I think mine was, I don't remember all of it accurately, but it was being able to do, it was, what is it? Thermal detection of defects in carbon composites used to strengthen concrete bridge structures using post-phase thermography, like all these qualifications, right? But at the end of the day, there is a simplified way of saying the same thing depending on who I'm speaking to. And so what I've learned to do when it comes to keeping it simple, that's absolutely keep the KISS theory, is by saying something very, very simple. And so I say, if you break your leg, you'll feel where it hurts. If a bridge breaks his leg, we need a way of knowing where it hurts. That's simply it, right? Because my research was simply about trying to do structural health monitoring for bridges. And so I automatically go in and say, hey, if a bridge breaks his leg, how do we know where it hurts? And that instantly gets us into the simplified idea of structural health monitoring. All those words that I have in my dissertation titles was just simplified for the audience. And so here's when I say keep a simplified message, and I'm trying to keep this broad as possible, but it could be your hypothesis, right? It can be all your hypothesis. So it could be something like bridges can break their legs and not even know it. That's a form of a hypothesis to keep it very simple. Here's another way of saying it. If you forget everything else I say, don't forget this. Have you ever heard anybody tee up a conversation like that or their speech like that? That's a way of getting ready to tee up your simplified message. If you forget everything I say, don't forget this, and then you deliver your simplified message. Another way you can do it, and I'm gonna try this video again, is to say, hey, repeat after me. Put it in a chant or in a song. And so here's what I do in the video, and I'm going to try it one more time. If it doesn't work again, I will move on.
For my Etsy shop.
But I want to make sure that this video, I feel like it was a good example. Let's see.
Yeah, if I turned the volume up on my computer, it helped, so it should be okay.
Okay, let's try that then. You see me start up.
So I've got my essay written, and I've been working on it.
Won't subject you to the whole ad copy.
Yeah, because you're a presenter.
Okay, yep. Can y'all hear that now?
Yeah, good. Probably good enough.
All right, good evening, everybody. Before I get started, I don't want to make any assumptions, so I'm going to ask a question. It may seem like an obvious question, but I'm going to ask it just so I don't make any assumptions. How many people here want to have a successful career? Raise your hand. All right, you want to have okay, cool. That's pretty much everybody here. I didn't want to jump to the conclusion. I don't know, maybe some people want something different, but a successful career, that's you, right? Head nod, all right? So if you want to have a successful career, I need you to do me a favor and remember this equation. Grand challenges equals grand opportunities. Do me a favor, can you repeat after me? Grand challenges equals grand opportunities. All right, cool. Y'all are with me. Let's see if this works here. All right, so 2003, if my math is correct, I think that may be the year that some people in here may have been born. Did you all catch that? Grand challenges equals grand opportunity. If you caught that, say I caught it. I want to make sure y'all caught it. If you caught it, just put it in the chat. Say I caught it. Can barely hear it. I'm sorry, Susan. I do not know why it was like that. Matt, But did you all catch that? The simplified message? Grand challenges equals grand opportunities. You all have heard this perhaps before, how there's a limited percentage of what we actually remember verbally. And that there's more, of course, that adds on when you get engaged. There's more that adds on when it's written, when you're doing things. I'm glad y'all caught it. Thank you so much, Jacob. Yep. But the purpose of that was saying, hey, repeat after me. Grand challenges equal grand opportunities. So there's the strong opener of asking the obvious question, getting engagement. Then there's a repeat after me, a simplified message. Grand challenges equal grand opportunities. And so that tees up instantly to get into now. We're prepared to get into sort of the meat of what we're going to be talking about, whether it's the engineering concept or whatever we're going to teach. And so moving right along, this one brings me to my third element, and that is now we're going to bring in our supportive facts. Now we're going to bring into our supportive facts. Now, there are a number of ways that you can engage your supportive facts. So if you are an individual that has a background and you are wanting to teach them about your particular background, here's where you would do it. Here's where you could get into the process of saying, hey, on every given day as a hydraulic engineer, I go out to look at different aspects of the city and make sure that things are up to code, make sure there's safety resolutions. Now you begin to give it because you're already engaged. You've already simplified your message, and now you can start hanging on your supportive facts. And so this is where I personally begin to give my background. This is where I personally began to tell my story. And if this video was working well, you would see that I instantly go into NASA, the story or the situation regarding NASA's Columbia space shuttle. So NASA in 2003 had a space shuttle disaster, Columbia space shuttle disaster, and it was the result of a defect that was known, but it being much greater than they thought it was at the time. And so they went into space. Many of you all probably remember this. They went into space. They were there at the space station about 2 weeks or so. They came back, and they began to have just a catastrophic disintegration of the Columbia space shuttle. And it turned out that its cause was something that was seen during the launch, right? There was actually a damaged piece of foam that hit a wing during the launch that everyone saw, but because there wasn't technology existing or on board that allowed them to see how bad that damage was, it led to a much bigger issue. And so now I can begin to talk about how these issues of structural health monitoring and not being able to tell where it hurts when it comes to our structure is something that is very, very important to the work that I do. This is where
Nehemiah, there was a question here. Matt was asking the audience you were speaking to. Are those high school kids?
So this right here are actually brand new freshmen in college. So they just graduated out of high school. That's this particular audience.
Okay, just for a reference.
Hey, thank you so much. And you all are welcome to stop me with a question. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just stop here, actually, since I've already paused. Were there any questions about what I shared too far? Supportive facts, strong opener, simplified message, or supportive facts? Any other thoughts on that? I enjoy the feedback. I missed something in the chat a little bit, but are we good? Is everyone all right? Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Feel free to stop me again, Liza. All right. So after supportive facts, we're going to move forward to, all right, now are we giving all the details about our job? What are we doing? What is really the essence of what we a lot of times jump right into right off the bat as engineers, but we get right to, here's where we begin to start bringing that. After we share those supportive facts of what we were talking about, that's when now it's time to get them back engaged, but in a more direct way with what our subject is, engaging illustrations. Now, this is where, and I tell you, I do this quite a bit, but this is where I would typically bring out graphs and data visualization, or I bring out technical demonstrations, or I bring out skits and videos. So let me give you an example of something that I do when it comes to the online space, right? So if I was in the classroom, I'll give you two examples. I'll give you some classroom examples, but I also give you what I've been able to do in the online space. So here I'm pulling up a presentation.
Is this still part of supportive facts, or are you on to your next point?
I'm sorry, I moved on from supportive facts. This is engaging illustration, number 4.
Engage in illustration. Okay.
Engaging illustrations. Absolutely. So here's an example of an engaging illustration for a presentation I do online. This one is built for online as it relates to optics. So the way that we initially started detecting defects when I was working at NASA was using optical sensors. And so breaking down how optical sensors work, which is basically the reflection of light that goes through, and all this would have been shared during the supportive facts. Light goes through the core of a fiber optic cable, and what we're able to do is change what happens inside the core of that fiber optic cable such that light reflects back at different wavelengths, right? So that's the technical concept. One of the engaging illustrations that I like to engage the students with would be this illustration right here. This is kind of more of a strong opener, but this particular dress right here. Have you all seen this before? What color is this dress? Let's see if we can get a quick vote real quick. What color is this dress in the chat? Somebody put it. And this is, keep in mind, this is element number 4, engaging illustrations. This is a virtual example of it because it's not so much hands-on, but we got some votes coming in. We got blue, we got gold and white. Oh, we have purple. The first time I got purple. Brown and white. All right, so that's on the gold and white side. Let's see. Anybody say blue and black? Any blue and black? So we got blue. Nicholas says blue for sure. So I'm thinking that other one you probably see blue and black. Blue and black, Eddie. All right. Yeah, so there's a split between they got blue and brown. Okay. Blue and brown, not bad, not bad, not bad. All right, so this particular dress right here, it's usually on the internet. It went viral a couple of years ago, right? So a lot of people, if y'all can see my cursor, would see blue right here, and then black or brownish right here is what some people have seen. So this is where the black would be, Eddie, right here, these dark parts right here. But then it's usually that camp or it's the white and gold camp. So some people would see white here, and then the other people would see gold right here in the darker area. And so I give this to the students, and I'll basically make it into almost like a debate and let them try to convince each other, maybe break up in groups and see if they can come to the same conclusion of what color this is. Here's another example, right? I do the same thing with these particular shoes right here. What color are these shoes, y'all? Anybody can put in the chat, what color are these shoes? Anybody can tell me what color these shoes are? 1960 green.
That's the best answer.
Pink and white, pink and green. That is interesting. Pinkish suede. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good. And I believe the actual color is pink and white, but anybody see gray? Okay, there we go. Green and gray. Both seems that. All right. This is the engaged illustration. Now, you could do this a number of ways in the virtual space. Again, you can make it to where you take a tally. You say, all right, break up a group. Let's see how many people in each group can get what. All right. Or we'll try to say, all right, let's see what percentage of the class sees what versus the percentage of the other things of the other color, right? Pink and white, pink and white. So these shoes have usually fallen into 2 different categories as well. It's usually pink here and white here in the stripes, white at the bottom. And I think that's the actual color of it. But then also, some people see gray here where the pink is, and then a teal green. I think that 1960 green that Matt was talking about is what they simply see on the laces here, right? This here is an engaging illustration all around the idea and the facts that I would have supported on the idea of light refraction and how light, the wavelength of the light that we are detecting determines the color that we see. And so there are a number of ways that I've taken this depending on who I'm talking to, right? But we know that a lot of times that when our optical nerve or our brain receive wavelength, a lot of times it's interpreted differently. And so what's happening in this particular example, those ones that we show, how we have all these different colors, is our brain is automatically making assumptions about the light source that's allowing us to see these particular shoes, right? So here's where I'm really getting them into the engineering or into the science, into the STEM, this right here, right? Because I just created this controversy about what color it is. And so now I can begin to explain to them, again, how light refraction works and how also we have devices. In our cases, we use computers, but even in our own bodies, there's an interpretation based on the assumptions that are made about the environment. So the way this works, again, just to finish off, if our brain thinks that it's artificial light coming from maybe a light bulb or something inside of a classroom, our brain's automatically going to apply that and cause us to interpret one set of colors. However, if we think that, hey, these particular shoes were at the window and it was coming from natural light and that was much more intense, our brain will automatically embed that assumption and bring another conclusion to mind. And so that is exactly how, connecting it back to my structural health monitoring example, that is exactly what we would do in the computer. We would write in the computer to make assumptions based on the light wavelength of light that's coming back through the sensor to be able to tell us if this is traveling over a defected area or if it's traveling over an area that is perfectly sound and solid. Using this engaging illustration, I'm able to then share and connect it back to the engineering work that I'm doing. And this is one of those topics I must say that is a little like challenging in nature, right? It's a little challenging in nature because this is my PhD topic. This is what I was able to get, a dissertation out of. But being able to provide an engaging illustration that allowed them to really handle, and that's what you're doing in engaging illustrations. You're giving the students an opportunity to handle the concepts that you just talked about in your supportive facts. So at SAMI Camp, we're talking about trebuchets. We go into the classroom and we talk about all the facts of trebuchets and the optimum length of an arm, right, that it needs to be when you have the counterweight and how you need to be able to have a release mechanism. After I'm explaining all this in a supportive facts in a very textbook way, we go right into the shop, and now the engaging illustrations, whether it's the activities or whatever it is, gives them opportunity to handle it. So let me show you, for those who are wondering, this is particularly for my ones too, who are wondering, hey, if I go into a classroom, I don't really have the creativity to come up with a engaging illustration. I just want to show this with you as I share my screen again. One of my favorite websites for finding activities on the engagement side, right? This is Discover Engineering. I know Sammy has a lot too, so I don't definitely want to take away from that. But this is another one of my favorites that I go to, Discover/engaging STEAM activities. What they have here are a list of activities that you can literally just come and pull from, whether it be hands-on activities, you can search by that. You have videos, you have some games, and then you have, for those who are just more formal in our nature, lesson plans. But this is one of my favorite sites to come to whenever I say I'm going into a classroom and I want to engage them around a topic. I'll simply go and look for the topic that I'm talking about. After I've already gotten my strong opener, I've already gotten my what's after that? My strong opener, my simplified message, and my supportive fact. I come here and I begin to say, what engaging activity? And so that helps to deepen the impression. Are there anything, I'm not so sure, maybe someone can tell me on the STEMedia staff, do you all have a website like this? I know I've seen some materials, but do you all have a site online for activities of this nature?
No, we actually
do. We have references, and we actually had Discover E present to us in April of 2020. So I actually screenshot this exact web page, and it's later on in the presentation, a couple slides after.
Oh,
so.
That's why I saw you smiling. I saw you smiling. Yes, yes. This is one of my go-to, and of course there are a number of places online, but I wanted to give you an actual one that I actually go to and I use on a regular basis. Any
There's
questions
so
on
many
this
great
point?
resources, but some of them are just over the top better than the others.
Absolutely. Number 4, I'm on number 4 again, the engagement part. And any questions about this though? As I got 2 more elements I want to share that I use again. It's my go-to formula, so to speak. But I want to stop here and see if there are any questions on what was shared so far. If we're good, just go ahead and type good. Carol says it would actually be using an activity from here in an event this weekend. Yes, that's fantastic. Good. We're good. Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank y'all so much. All right. So here's my last 2 elements. I'm going to share this with you. Number 5 is I like to always include a meaningful story. And this is something, again, that maybe we don't get too much involved in, not naturally as engineers, but because we're so logical. But this is where I try to tie it to some form of emotion, appealing to the emotion. All right. And this is where I maybe even talk about some personal experience. This is maybe where I talk about a story that I heard from someone else. But politicians do this, right? Sometimes ad nauseum, right? But whenever there's an opportunity, you're campaigning, you know, we see our politicians and they're trying to hammer home their platform. They usually bring up a story about little Timmy, or they bring up a story about my cousin Aunt Sal, or what have you, right? I want you all to know that that actually is a powerful element that we can use when we're talking about engineering, even, right? So politics aside, you have an opportunity to now, after you've engaged them, whatever the topic is, they've had a lot of fun, they got to actually handle it, to now turn a story to perhaps something that you had firsthand and how this element may have had a difference in your family's history. Or perhaps it's a historical story. It doesn't have to be something personal. If I'm talking about a World War II story, or something that happened that involved some element that we're talking about, I could go and think about maybe even a time where a student was doing this exact same activity and they had a hard time and then they overcame it, right? I always want to make sure I try to tie in just a little story, because believe it or not, as much as we probably don't want to admit it, a lot of times the things that make the deepest impressions on us are the things that appeal to our emotions. And so we are not above, as engineers, as logical people, we're not above bringing that into the classroom when we're talking about it to our students, right? So for instance, back to the Sammy example, what I've been able to do a lot with you all with the trebuchet out of Camp Lejeune, I always like to, at the end of the day, when it's time to pass out the awards, talk about things that I noticed the students encounter and overcame through their process of building their trebuchet. We've already launched the trebuchets. You see who won. We know who's first place, second place, third place. But I'm always trying to pay attention to where I remember maybe someone in Delta, the red group, encountered something where their thing fell apart last minute. And I saw how they banded it together and they made sure that they were able to figure out how to overcome it, and they got it done. Because what's happening here is, though they may be focused on, hey, I didn't get first place, or man, I can't believe that, you know, we got cheated sometimes, you know, when it's competitive and things of that nature. What you have an opportunity to do is then make a deeper impression about that experience that goes beyond whether or not they got the ribbon, whether or not they achieved the best results, or really whether or not even their experiment worked. You have an opportunity to now appeal to the emotions. And so that day, that event is going to really have a lasting impact because you went beyond just the technical. And so that's what I really want to share with you all here. That's another one of my, I guess I would say, secret sauces when I talk about engineering, because so often we keep things separate, and the logical and the emotional, and we're like, okay, we're not trying to preach here, we're not trying to be a politician. But no, I really believe that these are opportunities to really seal what we're doing by bringing in a meaningful story, or a meaningful antidote, or a personal experience that connects to what just took place. Does that make sense, y'all? If it makes sense, let me just know if it makes sense. This is the I see JL unmuted. Does it make sense? We get some make sense in the chat. All right, there we go.
Yeah, that really does. I've done a classroom presentation where we do a competition between teams to build a rescue litter, and they build it out of drinking straws and paper towels and toothpicks and things, and they have to carry a potato across the room, and rather than first, second, third place, you know, try to observe each group and things that they did well, or you know, had a problem and how they recovered, and kind of talk about each group's story along the way,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good, Jeff, and I love it because that is really one of the, again, like I said, I consider one of my secret sauces is by thinking of it as a narrative, as a story, not just as a checklist or a challenge in and of itself. And so when you're able to make it feel like not even you know, just one of those assignments, but a story for them, and then you took them on a journey, right? They went through an experience that really makes it a deeper impression and experience for them. So I'm glad you shared that as well. The last thing is very simple, just to move on to my last one. It's just very simply, we come back to our simplified message and we share the takeaways or the conclusions. I know you all probably saw this one coming, but here's when you just really repeat whatever the simplified message was at the beginning of your presentation. You give it to them one more time. And the reason why is because ultimately, you know, what they say, you know, what did you learn today at school, or what did they talk about? You're basically teeing them up on what they're going to be able to say to whoever asks them that question. Now, obviously, you know, there are going to be a lot of little details that are going to come out that can be unpacked because that's what you did through your presentation. But if you review that simplified message, now they have a, what do they call it? They have a trigger phrase, right? A trigger point that can really unfold everything that you just helped them experience in the journey you took them on in your presentation. And so I do encourage at the end of the day to make sure you come back with your takeaways and conclusions. This looks different in a number of ways, right? You can do a recap or review, bullet point list, right? You can have practical action steps. So next time you should A, B, C. So in my case, my review, my takeaway would be going quickly through all of my my 6 elements, which I'm about to do in just a second. If it was a more technical presentation, this is where summary and future work come in. If I'm doing something more like a research presentation or things of that nature, that's where, you know, I summarize what I was doing and say, here are some other things that you can do moving forward. So, and in the spirit of that, right, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a recap of what my 6 things are. Number 1, strong opener. Let me ask you a question that people may not ever say no to. But that's not the point of trying to get. Let me just try to get them engaged. Or let me challenge you real quick to a game. All right? Strong opener. Or let me say a fact that I just learned that will probably make your mouth drop. Strong opener. Number 2, simplified message. And this is one of the things, again, you want to be able to do before you step before the students. You know what you want to talk about, but challenge yourself. How can I say this in 12 words or less? That's kind of a lot. How can I say this in 10 words or less? How can I say this in just a phrase, right? So simplified message number 2. Then number 3 is when you start getting into this part that had you started with, they probably would have zoned out instantly. But now we're going to get into the supportive facts. Now we can get into the nitty gritty of what you do in your career or whatever the lesson is, right? You get into your supportive facts. Then you can get into the engaging illustrations. And I use illustrations loosely because that could be a hands-on activity, or that could be a video, or it can be like I showed you online, optical illusion, right? We want things that basically allow them to handle what the supportive facts were, what the facts were that you were just presenting to them. That's number 4. Number 5, meaningful story. Do not shy away from it. I don't know. I know we're different people. Some people probably like it, talking about meaningful stories. I'm not going to assume all engineers are the same, but I do know there's definitely those among us that feel more comfortable with just the straight facts. Hey, let's combine both. Let's combine one. Let's get the facts, and then let's bring the story into it as well. Appeal to the emotions. And then lastly, as I'm doing right now, summarize your takeaways and your conclusions. And with that, actually, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and see if there are any questions about any of the elements. I have tons of examples, but I wanted to make sure I got my elements, my formula to you all as someone who's been doing this for a while and really enjoys it.
Hey, Liza. So this was a great presentation, and I think it really highlights what it takes to be engaging and put together a program that's going to captivate the audience. You know, for Liza and Janine, I'm wondering if this is also potentially a barrier for getting some of our volunteers to consider doing something like this, where they might be more looking for somebody else organizing and they just need a warm body volunteer. Here's the table, here's the activity, versus how many of our folks know to strategize the entire storytelling part, the captivating at the intro, the activity, the follow through. And, you know, we do have the 2 folks from the LDP class, Sam and Brian, that we're going to be tackling K-12 STEM outreach for their leader development project. And I'm wondering if part of it is not just resources, but putting this kind of guidance together, you know, taking the tenets and, you know, representing it as a instructional kind of like, they're almost walking through the presentation for our audience, emphasizing these other pieces. And it's not just walking in and doing a scientific experiment kind of thing.
I think there's elements of this that you can use in any situation. If you're mentoring another person one-on-one, you can, tell personal stories and make sure that, your conversation has a simplified message. Or, if you're speaking to a group of people, then you could go through all the 6 steps, So I think that there's lessons to be learned from this formula for any situation.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
the message is always important, and especially for engineers who might be used to thinking in terms of the terms that they used in their PhD presentation. Think about potential jargon and maybe how to decode it, simplify it for the people you're talking to, whether or not it's something that they're going to experience in let's walk up and spend 2 minutes at a table at an engineering fair, or you're going into a classroom and you're talking for or leading an activity for 40 minutes or something like that. Some of these things may need to be shortened, but I think that they're there.
yeah, and I like that's why I use the a la carte kind of approach to it as well. Because like you said, if you're at a table, sure, you're not going to necessarily go through the whole thing, but you do want to grab their attention and then make sure they leave with a very digestible piece of what you want them to leave with. So absolutely.
I think one of the things, and it was obvious from your presentation, is you have to have fun with it and you have to have energy. But I love your strong openers, your games, your things, even if it's just simply asking a question. It engages them right away. Then they're like, what's coming next? So I love that tip. That's one I will use. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate your engagement as well. I see some comments in the chat. Okay, Matt says self-deprecating human engineer is very helpful. Yes, because it shows we are not robots, but we do get the right approximate answer. That is correct. Absolutely. Thad, thank you for your feedback. Eddie, of course, I really appreciate your feedback. I would love to share this more. Yeah, this is something that sort of came as a reverse engineer. So like the game I did with Jeff at the beginning is one I typically use when I'm going through the idea of reverse engineering things. Because, with engineers, we want to find a solution. And a lot of times we know our constraints. We know what the solution is supposed to do, but we don't always know, where to start. So we begin sort of with the end in mind and sort of work backwards. And so if you didn't pick up the game I played with Jeff, I just need to leave Jeff with 4 flags at the end of the game so that I can take the last one. So if I wanted to leave him with 4, I just need to make sure I left him with 8 prior to that. And I didn't need to leave him with 8. I need to make sure I left him with 16 prior to that. And so I had to leave him at 20 prior to that and 24. And so literally, I use that all the time as an explanation of saying, hey, beginning with the end in mind is what allowed me to win the game as soon as we started. And so really go down that path. And Jeff saw what we was doing. I saw he definitely picked it up, of course. But again, that's one of those things that can really lead into some really deep concepts in a creative way. Yep.
So we have a few minutes left. Nehemiah, thank you so much. That was an amazing presentation. I'm so glad that we got to connect with you. And there's a couple comments in there about your energy, and I think that makes all the difference. We were all totally engaged and listening, and you worked your magic on us. So thank you. We appreciate that. I'm going to be sensitive of everybody's time and let you know that in November, our meeting conflicts with the Small Business Conference. So we're all going to talk to you at the Small Business Conference and see you there versus, having a virtual meeting. So I hope to see each of you there, and we will reconvene in December. Any last words from anyone? Great. I think we had a great call. Thanks,
Great,
everybody.
thanks for everything, guys.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.